Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Joe. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. Welcome to Wonderland on Points, presented by Yahoo Travel. I'm your co-host, Mary Ellen. Joe and I are excited today because we are going to dig into one of my favorite trips that I've ever been on in my entire life. I think this is one I'm going to remember, and it will be a benchmark for all the trips to come, and that is Norway.
Oh my goodness, that's high praise from you because you've been a lot of places. I don't think that I say that about everywhere because I get so excited every time I go somewhere new and I'm always like, that was the best. But you withhold those words. So if you say it, it must be true.
I keep getting questions on my Instagram because I've been posting a lot of pictures and videos. So definitely, if you are at all interested, check that out. Check out the highlight bubbles. But the biggest question that I've gotten from multiple people, because they know I've been to Switzerland, and when they see the videos of Norway, I guess maybe people don't think Switzerland in their mind when they think of Norway. But actually, when you're there, there's so many mountain ranges and views, gorgeous, stunning views with mountains, that's the question I've been getting. Whoa, okay, what about this versus Switzerland? If I'm having to choose, I'm planning a trip, Switzerland or Norway, that's the two things that instantly people are comparing it to. Some of the mountain ranges actually give me a little bit of the Dolomite vibes, Italian Dolomite vibes. I think the Trollstigen, one of the places in Norway, definitely gives Dolomite vibes. So I can give you my conclusion because I've thought a lot about it since I've been getting this question back and forth.
Save it for the end, though.
We'll save it. Don't forget to ask me at the end.
Okay, I won't. And guys, this is probably going to end up being a two-parter. We haven't quite decided yet. So if we decide to make it a two-parter, we may just slice it in the middle. So just be prepared for that if it happens and it ends without any kind of fanfare. That's why. Because nobody needs to be listening to a 2-hour episode. Nobody has time. Who has 2 hours straight? Unless maybe you're on a road trip. I also want to point out that you guys will notice a little bit of a difference in sound. And that is because Mary Ellen is joining us from camp. That's how dedicated to her craft she is. She is camp nursing it up right now, and she's still recording this podcast.
It's true. Joanna and I like to get ahead of recording. Sometimes we'll batch record a couple things, but the summertime, we're both traveling so much that sometimes we have to record on our adventures. So Here I am, Camp Nurse Mary Ellen reporting.
All right, let's dive right in. So let's start with the outline of your itinerary and kind of just set the stage for us.
Yeah, I think it helps to visualize the country of Norway is very, I guess I could call it tall. I was going to say long. It starts at the bottom and it goes up really far towards the Arctic. Very long country. So we flew from Copenhagen, which was a previous episode. You guys can find that, to Stavanger, which is near the bottom west coast of Norway. And then we rented a car and we drove up the coast of Norway, ultimately ending in a city called Ålesund. So we stopped along the way. So as we go throughout this itinerary, that's kind of the basis for it, is we rented a car at the bottom of Norway and started driving up the coast.
A ton of people choose to see Norway via train or via cruise ship. You guys chose car. I'm curious if you would choose to do it the same all over again. They do drive on the same side of the road as we do, right? And same side of the car. That makes it so much easier.
That definitely makes it so much easier. We toyed with it. I think we just started researching the places we wanted to see, the hikes we wanted to go on. And having a car gave us so much more freedom than being locked into the cruise ship itinerary or the train. You can absolutely see some of the highlights of Norway that way. And I do think most people do it. And Whether it's more affordable or not, probably to do it that way. The biggest expense for us that we really didn't realize until it was too late to change things, and we were just stubborn and unwilling to change, is that we returned our rental car to a different location than we got it. Because we started at the bottom of Norway and we returned it, we drove one way up. If I could maybe, I don't know if I would change it or not, but it is worth considering if you could make a loop itinerary, a round trip, because the biggest expense with a rental car was paying a fee for returning it to a different location. So if you could return it at the same airport where you got it, it would cut massive expense off the trip. So that was something we learned. At that point, we were married to our itinerary. We did not want to change it or do anything differently, but it was crazy expensive. I'm like terrified to even say out loud how expensive the car rental was. But
It was a lot of days, though. It was a lot of days.
It was. I mean, we were there for a little over a week. So, but when I look at the bill from the rental car, the largest single expense was the fee to return it at a different location.
Honestly, though, that's good feedback because people could totally turn this into a loop. Maybe you won't make it as far north as you wanted to, but there's certainly a way to do it to cut costs. And man, I am team rental car all the way in these scenarios. So many people like to do trains or day trips like tours on Viator. I love the freedom of a rental car. I loved it in Canada. I'm going to Ireland in a few days. I'm going to be navigating that all by myself with my 14-year-old co-pilot.
Well, and the truth is, we were a family of 5.
Yeah.
And when you look at some of those day trips on Viator,
oh my gosh,
maybe they're $200 a person or $300 a person. You multiply that times 5. Well, there's paying for your rental car, and then you have a lot more options. So it's hard to say how much it would have cost had we done other things just because of that. You can't really compare apples to oranges, but in some ways, we didn't pay for as many of those tours that maybe we would have needed to without a car.
Yeah, for sure. Before we move on, what card did you put it on, and did your card cover your rental insurance coverage?
So we put it on our Capital One Venture X card. And they do have primary rental car coverage and collision in Norway. So we didn't pay for any kind of extra coverage in Norway. And I did in the end, I've been battling post-trip back and forth in my mind with how much of that rental car fee payment do I want to cover with the purchase eraser. I ended up doing a portion of it. I didn't erase the whole thing, but I did take about 50,000 Capital One miles and erase $500 from our rental car just to kind of ease the budget a little bit, but I did not want to use all of my Capital One miles.
No, for sure. I think that's a wise decision. All right, let's start the journey. So you flew from Copenhagen to Stavanger. What airline did you fly, and was it on point?
It was definitely on points. It was a very quick little flight. It's only about a little over an hour maybe, and the airtime is definitely less than an hour. And it was on an SAS flight, the Scandinavian airline, SAS is what it says on the tail of the airplane. And I booked with Capital One miles, actually, which is, this might even be the first time I've used Capital One miles for flights, because I normally transfer from Amex for a lot of international flights. But we used Cap One miles through Etihad. So it was, we used a transfer partner. I moved 6K miles per person. So there are 5 of us. That is 30,000 miles for the family that we moved over to Etihad. And the taxes were only like, the $5 per person. So the taxes were low.
That's
Again,
awesome.
it's such a short little flight. In the U.S., it'd be like a domestic flight. So thankfully, the taxes and fees were not much. And it was just so fast. It was very easy in Copenhagen. We did not even get to the airport that early. They advised us at our hotel. There was no customs we had to go through or anything. So it was pretty easy to jump on that flight. And it was a morning flight. So we were there by lunchtime and then went on a hike for the day.
Oh my gosh, just right into it.
Oh, yeah.
So what hotel did you stay at in Stavanger? And of course, I'm assuming that you tried to target somewhere with free breakfast, because that's kind of the Scandinavia thing that I feel like the free breakfasts are kind of what drew you into a Scandinavia trip in the first place. Like Cammie came on, talked to us about choice hotels and free breakfasts, and then it was a thing.
Yeah, if you go back through our episode list, you can find another Norway episode by Joanna's family friend, Cami. And that did inspire the trip initially because she talked about how they booked all of these choice hotels very, very affordably. They all had breakfast. Turns out I don't know if, since her trip, the prices have gone up a little bit. They were still very affordable, but not quite as cheap as I thought when I started. That's okay. So we stayed at the Comfort Hotel Square. We had 2 rooms because it's a family of 5, and the rooms were 20,000 points a night, choice points. So I transferred them from City, which at the time of my transfer was a 1-to-2 ratio. So really, they were 10,000 points per night, and it was really only 20,000 total per night for 2 rooms, which was awesome and included breakfast for the family. The only thing about this hotel, totally clean, totally sufficient, very weird and creepy decor, which I knew going in, creepy. I'm talking about some creepy, messed up stuff. I thought, am I in Amsterdam? Like, this is all a little sketchy and creepy, but it was sufficient. It's just if you have kids, it's like, ooh, that's weird.
Oh, okay. I was not expecting that at all. I think I must have missed
It was
that.
only
if you
one night.
posted
We
it
only
to your
stayed
stories.
there one night. No, I don't think I did post about it,
Oh,
the
okay.
artwork being a little suspect. But the only thing about that hotel, it was great. It was a great starting point for the one night we were there. They do not have parking on site at the hotel, so free parking wasn't included. Overnight, we were able to park for free on the street when we were there. I
Okay.
think my husband in the morning had to pay a few dollars for like an hour or two before we left. They did have a parking garage attached to the hotel, but it was kind of expensive to park there. And so we didn't. We just did street parking.
Okay. Good to know. There was one major activity here that you guys had your eyeballs on. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's why we started here. So my husband found Pulpit Rock. It was a hike that just caught his attention. He latched onto it. He was like, this looks like the coolest thing I've ever seen. If you have looked on my Instagram, this is the hike we did that looks like I am on the edge, and I am, of a cliff. And it's kind of like a backwards number 7. And all the memorabilia, t-shirts and hats you can buy have just the outline of the cliff on it, the Pulpit Rock, because it looks so crazy. And it is. And somebody asked me, how did you get that picture? Because it looks like the person taking the picture is obviously some distance away from you. They were like, were they like a mile away from you? No, there's a part of the hike right before you get to that people can stand, and people are kind of lined up, waiting to take turns to take pictures of people on the summit. And that is why we started in Stavanger, really, because he was like, we are going on this hike. Had it not been for that hike, we probably would have flown into maybe Bergen. That would be a much easier loop with the car rental. We would have flown in somewhere else. But the hike was awesome. It was 5 miles. Keep in mind, I travel with a preschooler, family of 5. So it was 2.5 miles each way, which doesn't sound bad, but yeah, or maybe it does sound
Straight
bad
up, I think so.
Yes, that first 2.5 miles is basically straight up. And then the way back is tough on your knees because you're going down the cliff that you just climbed. And it's very rocky, which I will say could be, if you're there were a lot of older people doing this. Throughout all of Norway, we saw a lot of retirees.
Yeah.
Which don't always have the best knees. So I, at times, was worried for them because I was like, it's way more dangerous for you to fall and easier for you to break a bone. So they made me nervous. The nurse in me came out, and I was like worried for all the people I saw hiking this. It probably was the most crowded of the hikes that we went on there. In general, we found Norway to be not crowded at all, which we'll come back to when we compare to Switzerland. But there were a lot of people on this hike, which was kind of good or bad, because I thought, well, if something happens and I get hurt, at least there's a lot of other people to help out. But it is a stunning hike. There's a big payoff. The toddler, I call her a toddler, she's not a toddler anymore. I think the toddler and preschooler line gets blurred because of the T clothing, right?
Yes.
4T,
Yes,
which is like
weird.
toddler, but they're not really a toddler anymore.
They're not.
She did awesome. She walked every single step of the way up that mountain.
Heck yes, she did.
She sure did, with all the judging eyes looking at us and like, what are you doing? Because everyone knew how hard it was, and they would see this little tiny person coming up that mountain, but she did it. And so that one, I do still recommend this hike. You get that mountaintop experience when you know you did it, that high of like, wow, this was really hard, but we did it.
Yes.
And it didn't ever feel like, if you're afraid of heights, other than at the summit, and you can kind of choose how comfortable you are with getting near the edge, it never felt too terrifying for someone afraid of heights. Now, later in this, we will go over a hike that we did where it was like, okay, I am literally on the edge and I could just slip and fall.
Oh my gosh, I can't. My heart rate has just risen. Okay, but we'll save that for later. So you guys, after just one night in Stavanger and doing this hike and everything else, you packed up, you headed towards Flam. There is a lot of driving in this trip, like a lot of driving. Did it feel like just any other old road trip?
It really didn't. So it was truly a road trip. If you're like, hey, you know what? We're going to do a road trip across the U.S. and stop at all these places. That's kind of what we did, but in Norway. We're going to do a road trip up Norway. So there was going to be a lot of time in the car. I will say, because it just came to my mind, one thing I regret is we had a very small car. 5 people. There were only 5 seats in the car. And then we had our book bags and our luggage, which all did fit, but it had to be a little bit like Tetris and barely fitting. So if we could choose, we would probably opt for a slightly larger car next time, so the kids were not so on top of each other and it wasn't so hard to pack everything in. But it was not like any kind of road trip I've ever been on, because every single mile that you are going is stunningly beautiful. It is gorgeous. When you think, like, we're going to drive to this place and we're going to see this one pretty viewpoint. No. All of Norway is the pretty viewpoint. It is all so stunning. And it's interesting because throughout the drive, you're going through tunnels constantly. Tunnels through mountains. They're just straight boring holes in mountains.
I feel like that would trigger a little claustrophobia.
I am claustrophobic. So the first couple we went through, I'm the same way. I remember Princess Diana in that tunnel, when she, I remember that vividly. And I think I've been a little afraid of tunnels ever since she passed. And I'm a little bit claustrophobic. So definitely, some of the tunnels are like 20 miles long. It's not just short tunnels. Those freak me out. And the ones, some of them go deep under the fjords. And so you're going down, like 5 miles down under the water. And then 5. So if I think about those too much, they kind of freak me out.
I can't even go in enclosed water slides, and those last 10 seconds.
I know.
The idea of being under the ground in a tunnel is a lot. It's a lot for me.
It's all of Norway. So it's significantly helped them, because I was talking to, when we got to Flom, we stayed in an Airbnb, and I was talking to the woman who runs it, because her house is right there on property. And I said, hey, all these tunnels are so cool. I'm just curious, how long have they been here? Like, when did they make all these tunnels? And at least some of the ones around her, she was like, oh yeah, that village over there used to take 2 hours to get to, because you had to go up and over the mountain. Now it takes 15 minutes. Because they just bored a hole straight through the mountain. And so it dramatically changed life when you could access all these places through the tunnels. So it made the car ride interesting, because you would be going through this tunnel. Don't try to hold your breath when you go through. We used to do that as kids, right? When we would go through tunnels in the mountains, try to hold our breath. You will pass out. So those are fun. Guys, we're pausing really quickly to tell you about one of the major ways that we earn enough points every single year for a welcome offer, sign-up bonus, that kind of amount of points, without getting a new credit card.
I checked my account this morning for what we're about to tell you about, and in the less than 2 years that I have been using this, I have earned 230,000 points, okay? This is crazy. None of those points required a sign-up bonus.
Yes, you need to turn your everyday online shopping into your next trip. With Rakuten, that is what we're talking about. Rakuten, you earn cash back at thousands of popular stores just for clicking through their app or website before you shop. Now, it is billed as cash back, but for us in the points and miles world, it's points.
You can choose to take your cash back in the form of either American Express membership rewards. You do have to have an Amex card to do this, or built points. And get this, you can do that with a free built account.
So this means buying shoes that you were already going to buy or the laptop you needed anyway. We all online shop. You should be getting more for travel, for your next flight, for your hotel stays, through shopping online. It's free to join, super easy to use. As soon as you get the hang of it, you're like, oh my gosh, why was I not doing this before? And a really simple way to stack rewards on top of your credit card points.
Yeah, guys, just today I got 10 times the points for a PetSmart pickup order, and the only difference was me clicking through Rakuten before I placed that order. It's a game changer. If you use our link in the show notes, when you spend your first $50 at any of the thousands of retailers that partner with Rakuten, spend your first $50 and you will get $50 cash back or 5,000 points. You guys, that is enough for a free stay at a hotel.
Yeah, you're going to want to go to the link in our show notes. If you do not already have a Rakuten account, go to the link in our show notes, sign up. Your first $50, you're going to get that $50 right back in the form of points that you can use for travel. So sign up today and we will get back to the episode. There's also a lot of car ferries. So throughout our journey, we probably went on 4 or 5 car ferries.
Oh, that's fun.
They are really fun.
They're delightful.
You get out of your car. Mm-hmm. They have a whole little, like, I don't want to call it a cafeteria, like a little, almost like a gas station shop where you can buy snacks. They have tables on the ferries where you can sit down. Some of them are shorter or longer than others. Some of them are so short that I'm like, why do they have this? There's not enough time. But you can, if you do ride on the ferries, you get out of your car. You can go stand, get some fresh air on the boat. It's really nice. You can go to the bathroom, which makes a car ride easier because you don't have to make a stop at somewhere to stretch your legs.
You're
because the car ferries, you're maximizing. It's so efficient. It's like, I can do all this stuff while I'm still moving.
I do like that. That is very efficient. That's the problem with road trips. You have to clock in extra hours for what you were originally paying for, especially with multiple children. Okay, I love this. You did stop at a few roadside points to look at waterfalls, which, I mean, just looking at your videos of waterfalls was so incredible. And you were already a waterfall person. I feel this might have like forever shifted your view of waterfalls. I don't know if you've ever seen waterfalls like this before. You could maybe weigh in on that a little bit. But then you stopped for lunch in a little town called Oda, which is where you guys actually had your best meal of the trip. That's a big gold star.
It is a big gold star. However, I think you go to Norway for the nature. You don't go to Norway for the food.
Yeah.
No. So you have to keep that in mind. It's very different than the U.S. There are no fast food restaurants. You're not driving on this road trip. Normally on a road trip in the U.S., you would drive through some fast food, right? Every exit of the highway has fast food. None of that in Norway. None. I didn't see a single drive-through of any kind. I did see a couple McDonald's, and we did eat at a couple McDonald's, but they were not a drive-through McDonald's. So it was a good meal. Pota Madre. I made a reel about it. It is basically a food truck. And we got it in Oda because there's a lake there, and there were a couple food trucks. There was a Thai food truck and this one, which is elevated baked potatoes. I got the Thai. I regret it. It was okay. It was fine. But my husband and my daughter who got the baked potato bowls raved about them. They just thought they were fantastic. And so I had wished that I got it. And then as we continued on our journey, we passed another place that had one of the little food trucks that was the same Pota Madre. At that point, it wasn't a mealtime, so I didn't get it, but I was like, wait a minute, there are more of these? Like, I wish I had looked up before I went so I knew where all of the locations were.
That good tip. Hot tip. Get the potato food truck. Pota Madre. We'll put that in the show notes so you guys can see how it's spelled. Yum. I have a new love for potatoes after Prince Edward Island. Like my
Oh,
potato
yeah.
love has just been rejuvenated. You could just do so many things with a potato.
So many.
Okay. Next up was 2 nights in Flom, and it is a tiny, tiny, tiny little village. So there are not chain hotels, but it is the perfect location on a fjord. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Your videos and pictures were lovely. Tell us about where you stayed and how you paid for it.
This little place was so cute.
It looked incredible.
It was so, I mean, everything you dream of for like staying in the quaint village,
Whimsical.
whimsical. And I just love staying in a place like that. So this is a place that's on the fjord. The actual fjord near it is the UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Oh, okay.
But cruise ships come in and park dock there at Flom, and everybody gets off. They do some of the ventures. There's the Flom Railway. They ride the train. But when you stay at an Airbnb there, you get to be there in the morning and in the night before all the cruise passengers get off the ship and infiltrate the village. You could literally see them. Like I was sipping some tea in the morning on the farm where this Airbnb is and watching their little pigs run around. It was so cute. And then down the lane, I see the masses of people starting to come when the cruise ship, docked and let them off or whatever, coming for a waterfall hike that I could see from my bedroom window, the waterfall. I was like, I don't even need to do that hike. I can see it from here, and it's so beautiful. So this Airbnb was awesome. I don't even think I knew when I booked it that they had a trampoline. My kids jumped on the trampoline. It was so perfect because they stayed outside bouncing and letting off energy from the long car ride while I could be inside making some dinner. We got the ingredients from a little grocery store, doing some laundry, having some quiet time without them. Because don't tell them, but, 10 days on a trip with them at all times, necessitates some quiet time. So they were able to enjoy bouncing. They also had a little climbing wall on the side of the house.
Wild.
This woman has clearly raised a little boy. I know she has a son because she showed like her adult son came by and I was like, I can see it because you got this cool climbing wall. Like you have these cool elements to your house that I'm sure he enjoyed growing up. So absolutely, I recommend this Airbnb. It did come out, if we stay there for 2 nights, about $700, so about $350 a night. But you are right there in Flom where everyone wants to come, where there is so much activity, and it was worth it. If I could afford it, that's maybe one thing I would change, would be one more night in Flom. We absolutely loved it, but it was expensive, right? Every other night of our time in Norway was spent paying zero out of pocket at a hotel. So this is the only time we paid for lodging. Now, I did earn several Airbnb gift cards through Fetch that offset that $700. Once I got it down to, I had maybe $250 left to pay on it, I had an Amex offer actually on my Amex Gold card where I could earn, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a high, I don't know if it was 10x the points, a very high multiplier if I spent $200 or more at Airbnb. And so I did that. I just ended up paying it off because it was such a good multiplier. And I know that it was about a little over $200 that I had left to pay on it. So that really worked out pretty good in the end. But it was our most expensive site. However, I do recommend it.
Okay. We'll put the link to that in the show notes as well so people can book that if they choose. But I mean, this is the thing I love about Airbnbs because like people get caught up on cents per point, but I only strictly get caught up on how far can my points go in a trip. And people will go to an exceptional location and drop 35,000 points a night on a Hyatt. If it's a fantastic one that everybody wants to stay at. Is it steep? Yes, it is. But this was a house with bedrooms, with a kitchen where you can spread out, where you can see the waterfall. Like, even if you wanted to erase this or erase some of it and do some with Fetch, like, it's still really not that crazy. It is if you're forking over the cash, like for sure. But there are ways.
We were able to eat there.
Yes.
So meals are insanely expensive in Norway. For our family of 5, even if we go to McDonald's, it was going to be like $100. I don't think it was possible to get a meal for our family of 5 for much under $100 a meal.
Oh,
So it's very expensive.
ow.
So when you think that we were able to cook dinner there, now even groceries are expensive, but they're cheaper than buying food out. And so that saves some money that maybe if we were even at a hotel, we would have had to spend some money on dinner. And then it had a washer and dryer. So we were able to
Game changer.
game changer, half of what we really needed because it was
Yeah.
right in the middle of our trip. It was nice that we just washed everything, repacked it for the second half of the trip.
Yeah. That is a major game changer. I love an Airbnb. I really do. Okay. What activities did you guys do while you were in Flom? Guys, we'll get back to the episode in a second, but we wanted to remind you that this episode is presented to you by Yahoo Travel. We are writing the Why Wonder newsletter in partnership with Yahoo, and this is a fantastic newsletter. It comes to your inbox 2 times a week, and it will really help families travel more for less, just like we teach you on the podcast. It covers earning and maximizing points and miles and has practical advice and inspiration, not just dream destinations. So it really is just an extension of what we are doing here on the podcast.
Yeah, our goal is to keep you up to date on what's happening in travel, any latest developments from Yahoo Travel that our listeners would love. So head on over to travel.yahoo.com. Make sure you sign up. Make sure you put your little star or favorite, the first issue that you get, so that your inbox knows, hey, we want to get this in our inbox, not in the spam or promotions folder. So make sure you set that so that we will be in your inbox twice a week. We are so excited and we're so thankful for everyone who's signed up so far.
Yes, we are. And now let's get back to this episode.
Flom is just incredible. I mean, this is truly a gem of Norway. So the first day that we were in Flom, we rented a boat. There are a lot of opportunities for you to ride like a tour boat or a speed boat where you're with a group, kind of like, through Viator or one of these things where you pay to ride a boat. We instead paid for I think it's just called Flom Boat Rental. We rented a boat for 4 hours. And again, for a family of 5, when you're going to individually pay for prices on these other boats, it really seemed like a pretty good deal. It was about $400, but that's less than $100 a person when there's 5 of us.
Yeah.
And we got the boat for 4 hours. We got to ride it up and down the fjords through the UNESCO World Heritage Site.
So cool.
Any of the waterfalls that we saw, we could ride our boat right up to the edge of the waterfall, which was awesome. You just had the freedom, and they gave you a map, and they were like, okay, you could stop here, here, and here. And just in case anybody else is in this situation, I love boats, but my husband and I, we don't have a boat on a lake. We don't drive boats. My husband had never driven a boat before. So when we got there, I was like, is this going to be a problem that we're not experienced boat people? But it wasn't at all. It was very easy to drive the boat. We took turns. We'll leave that as it is we took turns driving the boat.
Who took turns?
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
I'll leave that up to the imagination. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. It was so fun.
Was this an opportunity for relief band? Because speedboats can get, even if you're not on like a choppy ocean, the way that speedboats go up and down can be a little dysregulating to motion sick people.
Yeah, we did okay. I didn't actually wear the relief band on this one just because the water was pretty smooth and we didn't have any trouble with motion sickness, but it absolutely would work for someone who did. And someone, especially you with your extreme motion sickness with water, I would recommend it. I mean, there were a few, it's pretty calm water, but there are times because other boats are passing by that the wake of those boats causes you to kind of go up and down. So it definitely would be a good opportunity to wear one.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what was your other activity?
Okay, so after we did the boat, we did that one morning for 4 hours. And then we had lunch in Flom, which I'll get to in a little bit. I'll just cover activities for now. The second half of the day, my daughter and I rode the Flom Railway up to the top. Gorgeous. Everything there is gorgeous. There's not enough words to say how pretty everything is. A lot of people, especially from the cruise ships, ride the train and they kind of have a round trip ticket on the train. We did not. We had a one-way ticket. Then you get off, I'm going to say near the top, and you zip line down partially, which was amazing.
Yes.
The Flom zip line is so awesome. It's hilarious how different it is than in the US because I've zip lined many times. You wear a harness. A lot of that stuff is the same. What made me laugh is that when we got there to the zip line, I checked in, I quickly signed this one little thing. They suited us up and sent us on our way down the zip line.
There wasn't like a 45-minute tutorial on how to not get sued.
Exactly.
Oh
I was like, I'm sorry, do we have to watch a safety video? Like, is there anything we need to be, where's the safety tutorial that you're going to go through? Oh no, they just kind of suit you up and send you on your way. I remember when we were in Switzerland, I had my Insta360 camera or maybe just my cell phone. And there's a couple activities that we did that I wanted to use my phone or my camera to record. And they were like, no. You could drop it. It could hit somebody below, whatever. They won't let you do it for legal reasons. And here I was taking a picture of my daughter and I once we were in our harnesses. And then I was like, I noticed that someone else took a camera down. So I said, would it be okay if you think I could hold my cell phone? And she was like, yeah, definitely. She was like, you might want to use two hands at first, but then you'll be fine. And like, she was just so cool with it. I was like, wow, this is truly so different just in the form of, I guess everyone doesn't sue everybody.
The Norwegians are not litigious.
Yes, not such litigious people, which was great fun. So we zip line down. And then when we got to the bottom of the zip line, I think you could just do the zip line. What we had was a combo ticket that included the train, the zip line, and biking down the rest of the way down the mountain back to Flom. So you end up by the train station, but you bike your way down.
Gosh, this is so fun.
So fun.
Was it steep though? Like downhill biking people should scares me.
Downhill biking scares me too. I had a couple incidents in Switzerland with biking, and I was definitely nervous about this activity, the biking part, not so much the zip line, but the biking part. When we got to the bottom of the zip line, they just had piles of bikes there, and we're like, pick out whichever one you want, an adult and a kid one. Again, you sign a paper, and they're like, they show you on a map, this is where you end up, go. I'm like, what? Are there turns? Like, am I going to get lost? There's no guide. I just knew that I was going to wear out the brakes down that hill. Like, this bike will have no brakes by the time we get to the bottom because I will be going so slow. And I did. So my daughter definitely started going faster than me. It ended up being a solo bike ride almost. She would stop every so often and I would kind of catch up to her and she's like, what's taking you so long? But it is so beautiful that you also want to stop every little bit because there's a massive waterfall or, the river goes under, you're going over this picturesque bridge. So you just want to soak it in. At least me, I wanted to soak in my journey. And it got to the point my daughter had gone on ahead of me and I was riding and I was by myself riding the bike. It's so beautiful around me that I literally burst into song, burst into singing hymns because it is a spiritual experience.
Why do I feel emotional right now?
My
eyes have just welled up with water.
It's one of these moments in life that I'm just like singing praises because my mind can't comprehend how beautiful it is. And I just thought, this is a foretaste of heaven. If this is looking like this beautiful, what must heaven look like? Because this is like, my mind can't even take all this in. It's so pretty.
That's incredible. What an experience that is. I would have sung some hymns with you.
Yes. I did take a video at one point, but I don't have the singing voice that you do. So I don't think anybody wants to see that.
I think that all voices are good voices if they're praising.
God does. God likes my praises no matter what. But in that combo ticket, I did go back and look it up. It was about $150 a person. Okay. My husband and son did it at a separate time for us, and theirs was slightly cheaper. And I think the reason is because they went on the train very early in the morning before there were a lot of people for the day. And we went on the train when it was sold out. The timing of the day made it slightly different. So on average, it was about $150 total for riding the train up, ziplining, and biking down. And that's an activity, when I think of all the activities that we did, that I would absolutely say don't
Worth
miss
it.
that one. That is
Worth
worth it.
it. Okay, good to know. Good to know. So, what did your preschooler do during that time? Because I'm assuming there's no zip lining for the 4-year-old.
Right. So that is why we broke up. And our
Yeah.
family of 5, I have 2 kids that are a teen and a preteen who are older, who can do more activities, but then I have the 4-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
But when we were planning the trip, we're big believers in we don't want to not do activities. We want to include everybody, want everybody to be doing something they can enjoy, but at the same time, we don't want to hold people back from activities. So there are times that we choose to split up and do different things so that everybody can be accommodated to be doing something cool. So we split because we didn't want to miss out on the zipline activity. It was just too awesome. So my daughter and I went the first afternoon. And my son, my husband, and the preschooler went to the Viking village that is not far away.
Cool.
Yeah, they loved it. They said there's axe throwing, there's bow and arrow, there's all of these activities, and they show you and teach you about the Vikings, which they actually learned some pretty cool facts. Viking helmets in the US and the Minnesota Vikings, shout out to my beloved Minnesota Vikings. There's the helmet and they have like the horns coming out the side. Turns out Vikings didn't have horns. Even all throughout the souvenir shops, they have the little horns on the side of the helmet. But the actual Vikings, that wouldn't have been practical. And they were practical people. They didn't actually have those. I think those were added, they said. They learned at the Viking village for basically Hollywood. A movie was made at some point and they looked cool. And then that just became the standard ever since then because it looked cool, but it was not at all practical nor what they had.
Hollywood once again just pulling the wool over our eyes.
Yeah.
I feel like I have watched some more like quote unquote historically accurate Vikings shows because I like to connect with my Viking roots, and it is true I have not ever seen a helmet with horns in any of those. So, what a disappointment. What a disappointment.
Yes. So she was happy at the Viking village. She loved that. My husband said she really enjoyed it. The plan was for the next morning, us to kind of flip-flop activities. And my daughter and I to go to the Viking village with the preschooler again. She would go back there while my husband and son did the train, zipline, biking combo. In the end, I wasn't as interested in the Viking village. And the next morning, because our trips tend to be jam-packed with activities, I told my husband, actually, what I think I would rather do is have a quiet morning at the Airbnb, maybe go to the flam bakery in town.
Yes.
My daughter and I like perusing the shops, which my husband has no interest in.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did. And I also needed to kind of clean up and pack and get us out of the Airbnb. So in the end, I didn't go to the Viking village. We did that. We enjoyed the bakery. We had a lovely morning.
That's perfect.
While the boys went and did the activity.
Oh, I love this. I love it. I love flexibility and changing things on the fly. One of the other beautiful things about not being tied to any kind of like train or plane or cruise schedule, it's just like everything you do could follow your whims. So is there anything that oh wait, I almost skipped that. Are there any other activities to do in Flom? Like if somebody was maybe just coming to Norway and maybe they were going to set up and do the bulk of their trip there, could they make this into a longer time? I know you said you would stay one more day.
Yeah, there is that waterfall hike that I mentioned that some people on the cruise ship would go up the waterfall hike. You could also rent kayaks. So we chose to rent a motorboat to go throughout the fjord, but there were also kayak rentals. Some people were doing kayaks. We ate lunch at the food trucks. So there are food trucks in town. That's what we did between riding the boat and doing our ziplining experience. We had lunch. They have this whole row of food trucks set up, and I think they're pretty permanently there, but they are like a food truck hall. And we were all able to get whatever we wanted, different things, no matter what your family's interested, whether it's a hamburger and fries or Mexican, or there was a whole host of options. Okay. So we ate there. We also really loved the shops and the Flam Bakery, which is all in that same area. The Flam is only it's only a village of like 200 people. When those cruise ships come in, there are infinitely more people than live in the village. Like the village blows up and then it shrinks back down, and then it blows up and shrinks back down.
Makes me think of where did we go? Hallstatt. Like, not very many
Yes.
people
Yes.
live there, but then it just fills with people. It's
Right.
so
It is very similar.
interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know, you may could spend one more day, or if you just truly are super leisurely and you just wanted to basically live in Norway for a week but not be driving around. I mean, you certainly could just soak in and slow travel and enjoy the charm for longer or do more hikes. We pretty much, I mean, we were happy with the 2 days. I just would like one more day just to soak it in and go even slower, maybe go find a place that we could put our feet in the river, because you also, as you ride the railway up and bike down, it's a river that goes into the fjord. So there might have been some more spots that we could kind of play in the river and whatnot.
From Flom, you guys started your road trip towards Allesund, and right outside of Flom, you made your first pit stop at the Stegestein viewpoint. Is that worth keeping in this itinerary?
Yes, it was cool. My husband had a lot of points on our itinerary because, as I've mentioned before, a lot of times I pick the destination, I book the flights, I book the accommodations. He's the one who actually does the nitty gritty of looking up the activities, the road trip.
It's so nice. It's so nice.
I'm very spoiled in that way. Now, in saying that, I need to do a better job checking his itineraries and proofreading them, which,
Second episode, second part.
yeah, he does give me opportunity to do, but I'm too ADHD and lazy. I'm like, whatever you got, you got. Now I've learned that, no, I need to take the time to check some of these things. But this was one of the like optional things, because he's like, we could drive right on past this, or we could take a side quest and go up to this viewpoint. And sometimes Norway's tricky because it's so stunning that sometimes you're like, I don't know. We've already seen so many beautiful things. Is it worth the side quest to drive up to the top of this viewpoint? In the end, I would say yes. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It is a little crazy. Some people, if you have high anxiety, you're going to want to take your Xanax, because the road to this place, it's a switchback road, one lane. People are coming both directions.
On a mountain?
On a mountain, and occasionally a tour bus. They should not let the tour buses at the top of this place, in my opinion, but they do. And it's very interesting because every so often on the road, there is a pull-off, not a full pull-off, but maybe a little bit, where you can kind of pull to the side and the people coming the other direction can go past you. And people seem pretty good about just taking turns and doing that. You know, you meet somebody head on and somebody just goes to the little pull off, the other person comes through. There are a couple places in Norway with roads like this, but it's a pretty intense, crazy road back and forth up to the top. The overlook is just stunning. It's beautiful. There's kind of a funny video on my Instagram. People may have seen it where I said, this bathroom has a crazy view. Yeah, because the bathroom is not anything spectacular. And then on the side, they have just cut a window out of the wall of this bathroom. And it is just
so
like
unusual.
Stunning, gorgeous view from the pot. So I enjoyed that a lot, actually. In the end, I thought every time we took the side quest, because sometimes we didn't, but every time I was like, all right, yeah, let's go on this little side quest. It was always worth it. It was always beautiful, and I was glad we did it. So it is fun to go up there. Some of the tours I noticed on Viator include this, going to the top of this, which is, I guess, all the people on the buses and whatnot. So I don't think it cost, there definitely didn't cost any money to look at the viewpoint. There are tolls on various roads that our rental car had a toll reader, so we never obviously saw the toll. When I got my rental car bill, I could see all of the tolls, and my husband was aware of them. He knew they were going to happen. Okay. So there are some places through the tunnels, through the ferries, whatever, that you paid tolls that you didn't even realize you were paying, but they all come out on your bill. So I'm not sure if there was for this or not. The bathroom was free, though. I didn't have to pay to use the bathroom.
That's good. Was that a common thing, or are you paying to use bathrooms in general?
I think there was only one place in Norway that I paid to use the bathroom.
Okay.
So it wasn't bad. Most places it was free. Geiranger, which is another one of the Fjords and World Heritage sites, that little town I paid to use the bathroom. But I was able to tap with my phone, and that's a recurring thing within Norway. You do not need cash in Norway at all.
Meanwhile, trying to use the bathroom in Austria and not having Austrian coins.
Yes.
We were like, what? We have to have physical change to potty?
It's hard. You get so used to the more you travel, you go to these places that, you can just tap your phone for everything or your card. But yes, I remember in Austria, we got blindsided by needing coins.
We sure did. I mean, I kind of feel like this is a natural break in this episode. Why don't we wrap it up here, and we will have to hold you guys at the edge of this literal cliff at the Stegestein viewpoint.
Quite literal cliff.
Quite literal. If you guys have not taken the opportunity to leave us a rating and a review, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you're getting value out of it, that means a lot to us. Very specifically on Apple Podcast is where we get the most benefit from it and where the most eyeballs are able to be reached. I guess it's not eyeballs. I guess it's ears.
Oh, true.
Never really thought that through. Also, Spotify is very, very helpful. We just so appreciate when you guys do that. We love hearing your stories in the Facebook group. We just love hearing your trip reports, and we love when you tell us like you were inspired by something you heard and then this is what you created from it. Nothing brings us more joy. So please be joining us in all the places, sharing with us, leaving your ratings and reviews. We do appreciate it so much, and we will pick back up here next Monday with the conclusion of your Norway story.
Oh, I've got so much more to share.
I'm so excited. All right, we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.